The mission of this podcast is to investigate symbolism in human language to uncover deep truths about life, the universe, and everything. Symbolism, language, and religion are some of the most misunderstood, yet most important and powerful tools available to us feeble humans today, not only to understand the world, but to communicate it, and live a joyful, meaningful life. Symbolism shows us that the universe is arranged in patterns of being to which meaning arises, that nothing is truly random, and that accidents, if true, are a breakdown of meaning. Symbols are fundamental in our biology as genes and in the abstract world of language as memes, archetypes, symbols. Language is the way in which we use patterns assigned or revealed to interpret and describe the universe and all contained within it. Language is the spoken and written word, the logos in action, but also footprints in sand, the behavior of our peers, the constellations, and paintings on a cave wall. Religion is many things but not dismissible. It is belief instantiated in symbol, language, but most critically, action, which in pattern forms ritual. Ritual which acknowledges and binds us to the spiritual realm. I want to help bridge the understanding of the ancient symbolic worldviews and that of the disjointed modern and postmodern perspectives. If that sounds like gibberish to you, that's okay. Part of this podcast is to help explain in narrative form how language and symbols are embedded into everything, and why that matters, and how understanding that can help you live a more peaceful, successful life. In this show, we look at how ancient perspectives about life, the world, the spiritual, and physical realms creep up in the modern day, and why religious, spiritual, ritual, and symbolic thinking is unavoidable even in a disenchanted scientific age. In this show, we use movies, books, TV, and history to dive into symbolic and linguistic themes in every area of interest. And through that, we also discuss how to live a more peaceful, meaningful, good, virtuous, jolly, and holy life, whether you are an atheist, agnostic, Christian, Muslim, or pagan, all by studying those who came before us. Join me. My name is Max, host of the Etymos Max podcast and YouTube channel, and welcome to episode 5 of the Etymos podcast, titled Winter Solstice. As we approach the Winter Solstice and Christmas shortly thereafter, I think it is important we take some time to reflect upon the significance of these events and holidays. One is a celebration and contemplation on the longest night of the year, where darkness reigns at its height. But soon thereafter we celebrate Christmas, which is the dawning of the light into the world, marking the beginning of something far greater than our comprehension allows. The Winter Solstice was celebrated universally, globally, among every branch of religion and culture. Yet it is Christmas that takes these celebrations and properly orders them, directing all souls to what greater mystery that the Winter Solstice points to. For this episode, I want to share a variety of content. First, a past essay I wrote, then my own reflections on the season, and lastly, several Anglo-Saxon lyrical Advent poems adapted from the ancient Catholic liturgy. I want to begin by sharing with all of you a short essay I wrote and shared with my friends on Instagram a year ago. Here it is. Merry St. Lucy's Day. Merry Blue Christmas. Merry Yalda. Merry Yule. Merry Brumalia. Merry Sanghahamita Day. Merry Dongji. Merry any other winter solstice holiday. Since far before recorded history, people from completely different cultures in the far-flung corners of the globe have celebrated what is now December 21st, 22nd, the shortest day of the year. In the Northern Hemisphere, this is the day that the sun treads across the sky in its shallowest arc, giving the day the fewest hours of sunlight of all 365 days. The shortest day, but also the longest night. Universally, it has been a time for remembering the dead. Our ancestors, as well as the great dying and freezing nature inflicts, yet endures through the winter months. A symbolic dying of the sun that many cultures did and still do believe to be a deity. Crucially, it is also the symbolic rebirth of the sun into our world. The longest night, yes, but also all days to follow will have gradually more daylight, slowly bringing us into spring, and ultimately the sun's zenith, the summer solstice. Being Christian, this is important because it is a symbol within nature itself that reminds us of the passion and death of Christ in a time of Advent where we are preparing for his birth and his second coming. I find it no coincidence that Christmas is a mere 4 days after the winter solstice. Christmas resides on the side of the astronomical event that symbolizes a coming hope as the daylight grows longer. Take this day to remember those in your family or among your friends who have passed on. Further, remember those ancestors who you never met, perhaps before your time. Remember there have been thousands of generations of man that were born, lived, and died that led to you being alive at this very moment. Like the sun is a torch that lights up the earth that allows for life, the sun, S-O-N, lights the path and lifts us up for a better morrow. We too are like a torchbearer, in that our ancestors have passed along their lives so we may live and love. But we must remember to pass on that great gift of life and love, and remember who it is to which all life and love emanates. Thus concludes the essay. For the rest of this episode, I just want to give further reflection, further elaboration on what I'm talking about in that tiny little essay, and then go into those Advent lyrics. So, at this time of year when fall peters out, the leaves have fallen from trees, the grass recedes as the fields turn from mud to stony ice, and snow from heavens above fetters the earth below, one often asks, when does autumn end and winter begin? The season we are in now is autumn, its final days, but often it is mistaken for winter because of barren trees and the bitterly cold, shadowed nights. The name of autumn, fall we often call it, is fitting, for fall is a shortening of the phrase fall of the leaf in the sense of the waterfall of leaves cascading down from the trees. Here, too, the sun falls day by day in that ever-shortening light of day. Fall ends when winter begins, and winter begins on the night of the winter solstice, the shortest day and longest night. That day is December 21st in the northern hemisphere. What makes the solstice possible? Well, Earth is on a tilt relative to the sun, which is why the sun tracks through the sky in an arc the further from the equator you are. The winter solstice occurs when the northern hemisphere is furthest possible away from the sun for that entire year, that entire revolution, which is made especially possible due to that tilt of the Earth. This is why that arc the sun traces through the sky is so shallow in the winter, but so high, mighty, and regal in the hottest days of summer. Mechanically and symbolically, we are in the darkest and coldest time when our tilt, our orientation, is furthest from the saving warmth of the sun. In traditional societies across the surface of the earth, as summer concluded and fall progressed, less and less work was made possible outside. Most people were farmers, and others were sailors, merchants, and artisans. As the ground gets colder and harder, less supple, and the harvest is over, very few plants would and could grow in these more desolate months. Some crops, like garlic, could be planted, but few would show till spring or even summer. Sailors in colder climates were limited in their travels as the harbors froze, seaways crystallized, and the gelid winds claimed appendages with a bite of frost. Overland merchants were slow, and their product was limited by what they stored. Many in traditional societies participate in this forced yet ritual retreating from the life spent mostly outdoors to a life mostly indoors. Where spring and summer is a celebration of growth, multiplicity, and individuality, winter brings us closer in calling and unity. Summer is the season of the day, and winter the season of the night. In summer, many of us explore, play sports outside, hike in nature, swim, camp, do yard work outside, or attend farmers markets. In the winter, our activities that would string us farther apart during warmer months slow down as we come closer together in our families and communities to hunker down from the elements but also to celebrate the holidays, reminisce, and prepare for the year to come. At Thanksgiving and harvest festivals, we begin this entry into darkness and communal living with the gathering of our families apart from our individual tribes, and we celebrate the harvest, our gratitude for each other, and reflect on the year. Yet, immediately after, we misalign how it is we should be acting toward this growing darkness. Traditionally, Christians celebrate Advent or Adventus, which means coming in reference to the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ as an infant in the Nativity, Christmas, and to prepare penitentially in sorrow with fasting for the second coming of Christ. The time between the harvest and Christmas Day is a time of sorrows and preparation and delaying of worldly gratification for that coming of Christ. Traditionally, Christians celebrate Advent prior to Christmas, a season of penance, and then celebrate Christmastide and Christmas season after Christmas Day. To avoid this reflection from becoming a rant, I will refer you to an excellent article written by my friend John Joyce, titled "The Inversion of Christmas, the Diabolical Undertones of its Modern Counterfeit." There he explains the symbolic significance of celebrating Christmas in the reverse order of how it is intended to be prepared for and celebrated. In the modern world we live in, because many of us work indoors and we have the lighting of our choice in our work and homes 24/7, since the widespread distribution of electricity, we have created a divide between our lifestyles and how the world presents itself to us. That is to say, we have lost the severe transition from day to night and from one season to the next. With modern technology, such as lighting, we have buffered ourselves from feeling how harsh those transitions are meant to be felt. We are no longer restricted by the luminescence of a candle or oil lamp. Now we are kept up by our overhead lights installed into our houses, street lamps, cars driving by, the screens of our TV, computers, and phones. These lights into the hours of the night trick our brains into thinking it is day, thus throwing off our sleep cycles, making it harder to go to bed on time and get up at a consistent time early in the morning. Conversely, with the gradual decrease of light through the day by the setting of the sun and the dimness of a candle, our bodies slowly prepare for sleep. Temperature, too, signals to us when to sleep, and certain temperatures help us sleep. As the sun goes down, so does the temperature, and we sleep best when the lowest temperature we experience in our 24 hours is in the middle of the night. This is also the time of our deepest sleep, and as the temperature increases approaching dawn, our bodies are signaled to begin waking up. Cold brings us in and keeps us asleep. The rising warmth of the dawn soon to come bids us to wake to prepare for the coming of the sun and the day that the sun presides over. The winter solstice and Christmas provides us with a winter solace. On the night of the winter solstice, we may not realize from any night soon prior or soon to follow that it is darker or longer. On Christmas Eve, December 24th, the night has already become truncated. The reign of darkness is slowly but surely on its way out. It is there where one may think that the night still is long, that the Savior of humanity and all creation, the Logos, is born into the world. And here, within Christmas, is a great symbol of deception against the dark Lord. Where the darkness still seems to rule, it is only going in one direction, receding, making way for the sun, S-U-N, and the Son, S-O-N, who, being an infant, comes in humility to us, born of a virgin, a peasant woman, and fostered by a poor carpenter. Yet it is the carpenter who will train the young king of the universe his trade, to mend the wood of the tree of bitter fruit into a cross, by which that king's sacrifice of himself will redeem all the world. And that concludes my reflections. Now, I would like to share with you 3 Advent lyrical poems. In my study of Anglo-Saxon, that is to say, the culture of the English who spoke Old English from the 500s to the 1100s, I read a lot of excerpts of poems, epics, hymns, and prayers from the book, The Anglo-Saxon World, an Anthology. It's a really good book. I highly recommend it, especially if you like ancient literature, culture, poetry, all that sorts of stuff. In that book are 3 of the 12 Advent lyrics, which are adaptations of the antiphon, known as the Advent O's, or the O antiphons. To quote the author who compiled all these works into one book, the first lyric, which lacks its opening lines, is in effect an extended metaphor about architecture and the divine craftsman. The second deepens into wonder in contemplating the virgin birth. And the 7th is particularly interesting in being the early surviving dramatic dialogue in English, a forerunner of the medieval mystery plays. The exchange hinges on Joseph's understandable misapprehension about the cause of Mary's pregnancy, and Mary's innocent misunderstanding of him. The poet shows Joseph to be on the horns of a moral dilemma and having to decide whether to reveal or conceal Mary's quote-unquote crime, and the lyric is psychologically satisfying portrayal of wounded pride." End quote. The author's summary serves as a decent introduction to the lyrics, but without further ado, let's get into them. Advent lyrics, number 1. To the King. You are the cornerstone the builders once discarded. It becomes you to stand as the head of the great hall, to lock together the lengthy walls, the unbreakable flint in your firm embrace, so that all things on earth with eyes may marvel endlessly, O Lord of glory. O true victory bright one, reveal now your own might through your mysterious skill, and let wall remain upright against wall. The hall needs the care of the craftsman and the king himself to repair. It is decayed now, the house under its roof. He created the body's limbs of clay. Now the Lord of life must save dispirited men from devils, the wretched from damnation, as he has often done before. Advent lyric number 2. You govern the locks, you open life, O Lord and ruler, righteous King. Unless man's work is well done, you deny him the paths of joy, the blessed journey. Truly in our need we speak these words and call upon him who created man that he should not consign to hell those unhappy ones. We who sit in prison, sorrowing, we yearn for the sun, for the Lord of life to show us light. Take our souls into his protection, clothe our clouded minds in his glory. We await the day when he will make us worthy that he has admitted to his grace, abject, cut off from our own country, we who had to come to this narrow land. Wherefore many may say, he who speaks the truth, that when it was lost he delivered the race of man. The maid he chose for mother was still young, a virgin without sin. The bride grew great with child without once entering a man's embrace. There has not been such merit in a woman anywhere on earth, before or since. It was a mystery, one of God's miracles. All the gifts of the Spirit grew on earth. The Maker illuminated many matters, knowledge long since hidden under the soul. The sayings of the prophets were realized when the ruler was born. He who fulfills the cryptic words of those who, fittingly and fervently, praise the name of the Creator. Advent lyric number 7. O my Joseph, Jacob's son, of the line of David the great king, do you mean to divide us who are one, and to disdain my love? All at once I am deeply troubled, robbed at dignity. I have endured hurtful abuse because of you, bitter insults, sore humiliations. Men scorn me. With sour words I must shed tears, sad in mind. God can easily heal my grieving heart's wounds, comfort the wretched one. O young maiden, Mary the Virgin. Why are you mourning? Why are you so sad? I have never found fault in you, nor thought you guilty of the least offense, and yet you speak as if you were full of every sin and crimes. I have incurred too much malice because you are with child. How am I to refute their hateful words? Answer my enemies. Everyone knows that I willingly received an innocent virgin, undefiled from God's glorious temple. Now where is her chastity? And which is best, to keep quiet or to confess? If I tell the truth, David's daughter will be stoned to death. Even so it is worse, to conceal her crimes. A perjurer, hateful to all men, is despised for as long as he lives. Then the Virgin revealed the miracle and spoke thus. By the Son of God, Savior of souls, I speak the truth when I say that I have not embraced any man on earth, but in my innocence, Gabriel, archangel of heaven, appeared to me. In my own home, he said truly that the heavenly Spirit would fill me with radiance, that I should bear the triumph of life. The bright Son, the mighty child of God, of the glorious Creator. Now I am made his immaculate temple. The Spirit of comfort resides in me. Now you may set aside your bitter sorrow. Give eternal thanks to God's great Son that I, a virgin, have become his mother, and you his father, in the reckoning of the world. In himself, truly, that prophecy had to be fulfilled. That's all I have for you today, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this Advent and Christmas special. I hope all of you have a great conclusion to your Advent, and great beginning of your Christmas season. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, share, follow, subscribe, and leave a review. To help support this network and our content, please consider contributing to our Patreon. You can find us on patreon.com/Etymos. That is patreon.com/ETYMOS. A pledge as little as $1 a month will grant you access to exclusive content, early releases, and community message boards. Thank you, everyone. And for our final thought today, I wanted to recite Bede's Death Song, another classic from Anglo-Saxon literature. This is Bede's Death Song. Facing death, that inescapable journey, who can be wiser than he who reflects while breath yet remains, or whether his life brought others happiness or pains, since the soul may yet win delights or night's way after his death day.